Lovely seeing everyone. Yes, participation. I love that. My name is Shanti, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Miss Zeinabu Irene Davis today. Zeinabu is an independent filmmaker and professor of communication at the University of California, San Diego. Her work is passionately concerned with the depiction of women of African descent. Her short film, Pandemic Bread, is showing here today at 2 p.m. This is the East Coast premiere of the short film, and we're very excited for this. And even better, this film is nominated for Best Short Narrative as well. So, yay! How are you feeling today?
Excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. So in my research, I saw that you are a Philly girl.
Right.
Born in Philly. What part of Philadelphia were you born in?
Northwest.
Northwest.
Over by Central High on Collins Street off of Ogons Avenue.
Okay. What was your childhood like growing up in Philly?
I have working class parents, so, everybody was on the block from different, some people were from different parts of the country, mostly from the South. I was a little bit unusual because my mother's relatives were from Montreal, so in the summers they would go to Mississippi and Alabama, but I'd be going to Montreal and they were like, where's that? But it was fun. I went to Catholic school.
Okay.
So I didn't know how to match blue, or any other colors other than blue until college. And Philly is a really good town. It's brought up a lot of filmmakers, if you didn't know. Shout out Cheryl Dunye, Ayoka Shinjera, who will be here this weekend, Tanya Hamilton, Louis Messiah, all these great filmmakers that have come through Philly. So it must be something in our drinking water that makes our films great.
Music and film, it's the arts.
Word.
We don't necessarily stay here, because are you living in Philly now?
No.
No, I understand. I understand. But yeah, that's wonderful to know that you're a Philly Jawn,
That's right.
so to speak.
That's right.
Pandemic Bread is set during the pandemic. There's no time, 2020, 2021. What was your experience like during the pandemic? Were you baking? What were your hobbies? What was your creative process during that time?
My pandemic obsession was breads and birds.
So you were
maybe not in that order, but hummingbirds. I was obsessed with hummingbirds. I put up a whole bunch of feeders to watch them, and just baking whatever, which, I definitely gained the pandemic, however many pounds it was, but that was something that helped to keep me sane. And then I'm also a professor at University of California, San Diego, and so sometimes it was thinking of funny outfits that I could wear on my head or on my, whatever, it's just to make the students wake up.
Keep them entertained.
During the Zoom sessions, the many Zoom sessions, which, they be doing all kinds of things. Some of them took showers while we're on Zoom.
You just see the ceiling the entire time?
Right, or they in bed, got their bowl of cereal, that kind of stuff. So
your creative juices were flowing.
In whatever way we could make them flow.
I love that.
Yeah.
How did the collaboration between the San Diego Filipino community and UCSD students come about for making Pandemic Bread?
Okay. Well, Pandemic Bread was written by a local author who's Filipina, Mari V. Sullivan. And it was a part of a submission of stories that the San Diego Public Library and a few of the other local community arts organizations did in San Diego. And they selected 100 stories about the pandemic experience. And then there was a top 10, and Mari V's story was the winner was one of the top 10 winners. And I read the story, and it's so powerful. I'm just warning y'all, if you'll come to the screening, you might want to make sure you have some tissues, because it's really heart-wrenching, what she wrote. And so the idea was to figure out how to transpose that from a short story to the screen. And so went through the process of doing research about the Filipino community, because unfortunately the Filipino community was the one that was the most affected by the pandemic, by COVID-19. And I did research And that's, that's kind of like the theme of BlackStar, how like BlackStar has like all these different genres trying to bend together. Even though this is a narrative film, I'm still doing documentary research and evidence-based practices to make sure that the film is as authentic as possible. So I interviewed Filipino nurses who also were one of the first to get hit by the pandemic, and like doctors who were in the front line, in the ICU room, so on and so forth, and just members of the community who were, open and willing to talk to us about what their experiences were, and then just kind of like work to combine that into what the story itself was. So it was a collaboration, very much in the same vein as what we did as LA Rebellion filmmakers. LA Rebellion filmmakers, for those of you who don't know, are filmmakers who came out of the UCLA film experience. Historians put that time period as like the 60s through the 80s, but I don't believe them, and I put it up until the 90s. So I made a film about that was here at BlackStar in 2016 called Spirits of Rebellion. But our ethos as a group of filmmakers who came out of the LA Rebellion was to make sure that we made films that were representative of our communities. And making films representative of our communities is to involve them in the storytelling process, not to just like sit back and then just show them, but to actually get them involved. So that's why it was really important for me to involve students as well as, community members to be a part of the making of the film. For students in particular, it's very hard to get production experience. So if you have somebody who's able to give you production experience, you got to go ahead and do that. And so that was like super important to me. And I know I said I'll do one later, but I'm going to do it now. As one of my prize students who took several classes with me, Selena Doe, was our assistant producer. And she just did a phenomenal job. I could not have done it without her.
I watched a little behind the scenes making, and there were many accounts of, she asked me to be the creative director. I don't know what that was, but I said yes. She asked me to be the producer. I don't know what they do, but I said yes. So that was a wonderful experience that you offered them. That was great. And I also want to speak to how lovely it was to see the full interpretations, like back and forth between the two characters. Someone would speak in their native tongue and then it'd be interpreted in English. And there were long periods where, for me, not as an English speaker, that I was just hearing that language, and I love that space that you offered. You didn't cut it short, and it took a big chunk in the film, and I thought that was really important to do that.
Yeah, I think that's about trusting audiences. People are like, well, the audience is not going to accept those long periods of time when they don't know what's going on. That's not true. Cinema is a visual language, and it's one that many people can understand. You don't have to know exactly what she's saying, but you'll get the feeling
the emotion,
of it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Why was it important to have the doctor be played by a Black woman?
Marvy's story was Dr. Goldstein. And Dr. Goldstein was probably not a sister. I'm sorry. But this is Zeinabu Davis Jawn, and it's going to be a sister up in here somewhere, and we don't have enough representations of Black women as doctors in mass media. So it was very, very important for us to make sure that we made Femi Balogun be the head of the ICU and the doctor who's the one who makes the call during the call of pandemic bread. Yeah. And she's played by Claire Simba, who is an amazing actress from Cameroon. And if you do get a chance to watch the making of documentary, you'll see that one of the things that surprised me, which I didn't realize, is that we just asked her to be her. We didn't ask her to put on a fake accent or do anything different. And she really, that was a rare opportunity for her, because most of the time, if filmmakers are casting someone because they are from Africa, they want them to do certain things, and that wasn't necessary for this role. She could be who she really was. And it just so happened that Claire is married to a doctor who was involved with, serving patients during the height of the pandemic. So it was interesting to hear her family's experiences. Her husband would do things like have a trailer outside, and then they have 3 small kids, and he would change and shower in the trailer and then come into the house before because this was at the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't know how things were being, how things were being transferred, disease was being transferred. So there were certain kinds of stresses and necessary things that we had to do to make sure that we could keep everybody healthy.
People have been connecting with the film in really profound ways. What has it been like to share Pandemic Bread with audiences in person?
That's what we live for as filmmakers, or at least that's what I live for as a filmmaker, is to be able to share it with people in person. It's really wonderful to see audiences watch the film, particularly if it's a mixed audience, meaning that there's Filipinos in the audience and that there's also people who don't speak Tagalog, because the Filipino speakers know what's happening first, so they start reacting, laughing, or what, and then afterwards, it's a wave, because then the other people, they get it because it's translated into English. So it's really kind of going through the audience. And while I'm here, one of my great heroes of all time was Tony Cade Bambara, who lived here in Philly for many years. And I'll be doing my Tony Cade Bambara impression when we have the screening, which means that I won't be sitting in the same place. I'll be moving around the theater and checking out how the audience is actually reacting to the film. So that's the exciting part for me, is actually just seeing how people take the film and what they get from this experience of watching the film with others in person. So I'm really grateful to be able to have that, be able to share that experience with others.
There's some really funny moments in it as well, especially in the beginning. While watching it, it was triggering, because it's kind of like childbirth, where I forgot what we experienced during the pandemic. I forgot that feeling of isolation. I forgot how connected we were, but how separate we were in so many ways, forced to be. Why did you create this film? Why did you think it was important to depict what we experienced?
Well, I think the power of that also is due to the screenwriter who's in the audience right now, Mark Cherry. His translation of the short story into the film brought those moments of levity. That was important to him, to make sure that there was some lightness in the film and not all just serious the whole time, because we had a lot of ups and downs during that beginning part of the pandemic. So it was critical to make sure that, the range of experiences that we had, that was included in our discussions or in our depiction of the pandemic. So I think we got it. I think we really, figured out a way to kind of bring that back to us. And that, to me, is what's important. We still haven't really had an opportunity to really talk about what happened. We always want to kind of push it aside. And you work in wellness, Shanti, we have to address this. So one of the interesting things that does happen when people watch the film is that we don't really have a Q&A. We end up actually having a testimonial. that people start to talk about. The film brings it up enough so they start to talk about what their experiences of the pandemic were, or what losses or what triumphs they had during the pandemic. So I'm hopeful that that will happen again here today as well.
You had, it was very close to your family's heart from what I understand as well. Can you share a little bit about the legacy of that?
We lost a brother to the pandemic, and that hole won't ever be filled. And so it was important to keep remembering Rod. And that there's a photograph of him. If it's a Zeinabu Davis film, it's going to be altars. So there's pictures on the altar, and there's a photo of Rod that's in there. And just, you know, I'm certain that the reason why we were able to finish this film as quickly as we did is due in part to Rod looking down on us and saying, okay, come on, keep it going, keep it going.
Ashe, ashe.
Yes,
yeah.
ashe, ayi bobo.
Yes. What are some of your petty peeves about the filmmaking process?
Okay, so one of them, thankfully, was answered by Selena Doe. We hate having bad food on the set. You know, filmmakers can never afford good food. They're usually going to give you pizza every damn day, you know, and it's like, okay, but that's, you know, that goes but so far. And we wanted to make sure we had wonderful choices, and Selena worked really hard with Ree. Christina Ree is the other producer out here. And, you know, it was really a big deal to make sure that we had good food, and we did, yes. The other one is getting money, the bane of our existence. But I was very fortunate that I had excellent producer, Nikki Evangelisti, and Wayne Yang to like knock down those doors at UCSD and get the money so we could get this done. And you know, that doesn't happen overnight or every day. So I was like eternally grateful to the two of them in particular for making a way for us to do this and that we could get it done within a year's time.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is a personal question of mine. I've been really meditating on excellence and perfection, and you have been in practice of your art form for a very long time. What is your relationship with excellence and perfection?
I think I'm going to reject what you just said, Shanti.
Okay.
Because I think excellence and perfection set you up too hard.
Yeah, talk about it.
Too high.
Yes.
And I am my own worst enemy. So if I'm trying to strive for perfection, that's not going to happen because of, you know, you have these life experiences, you have expectations, you have life experiences, and they're going to either hold you up or they're going to bring you down, and you just have to accept and kind of like do what you need to do. And so I think it's more for me about doing the best that you can, you know, and if there might be some spots where it's not that great, but you just do what you can to do the best that you can at that particular time. You know, I think black women, we're always held up to these standards of excellence all the time. And it's like, yo, can we just be freaking human? Can we make mistakes? Can we, you know, have some struggles and, you know, humanity, you know, that we don't have to be totally, you know, the strong black woman all the time, that kind of thing. So I want to temper that just a little bit. And I want to be able to show, like, some range in terms of our experiences or what we are and what we have. I also happen to be a mom too. And you know, when you be having these children, it's like, you know, it's like, okay, you know. Right, exactly. as my dad said, they don't come with an instruction manual. So it was like, okay, you got to, just ebb and flow with them in whatever way you can. And so she's not here. She'll be here at the screening, but my daughter was on our set. Both of my daughters, Desta Cherry and Mozzie Cherry, were on the set as production assistants. Desta was the makeup assistant, and it's because of her that I actually have some makeup on today.
I see you sparkling over there, shining.
Yes. Child, this is some good Korean shit up on my face here. She just spent 3 weeks doing a K-pop immersion.
Okay.
And she came back with these new makeup
products. 2-hour skincare.
Yes.
I see it.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for that. No, thank you. That's a wonderful answer. What's inspiring you lately?
Oh, wow. This is inspiring me. BlackStar is inspiring. It's always inspiring to be here. We have, this year in particular, we have this wonderful collection of filmmakers who are new and filmmakers who are seasoned filmmakers. That's what we'll call us. And I'm going to shout out one of them in the audience right now. The legendary Michelle Parkinson is back there. Woo-hoo. Her film is tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be there or be square. So I think this is going to be a really wonderful experience if we have, if we have the ability to have conversations between seasoned filmmakers and younger filmmakers, because I be learning from the younger filmmakers. I don't be always teaching them. I learn from them as well. So I think it's important to share information and knowledge, and this stuff is not written down in the books. So it's a lot of it's learn as you go. And so I'm looking forward to have those kinds of opportunities to run into people and talk and discuss the films and, see where people are going with their stories, so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a hard one, but it's a very fun one, I think. Who would your director parents be?
I already had them. Julie Dash and Charles Burnett.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, where do you hope to...
I have to say why.
Forgive me. I apologize. Sorry.
Julie, because, Julie's her vision, the way that she's able to see and the way she's able to incorporate history. I had the opportunity to live next door to her for a few years, and when she was doing the research on daughters, going into spiritual practices and just really uncovering all of that. So that infused my work. And then Charlie, in addition to be a director, is also a cinematographer, and he shot my first student film for UCLA, Crocodile Conspiracy. And that film just got restored by UCLA, and I was just looking at it, because as a director, I'm cringing because the acting of some of the characters in it it's it's a performance, but but just looking at Charlie's camera work and the way he frames his composition, his style, it's just so incredible, seeing that film even, 40 years later, and how powerful it is and how it still influences the way I see film or the way I think about making film today. That's really important to me. So, yeah. So maybe my godparents. I don't want to date them. It's they could be my parents, but they could be my godparents.
Heard. And lastly, where do you hope to take Pandemic Bread after BlackStar?
Thank you. I'm hopeful for a long and successful run on the festival circuit, and then to also have educational release and also be able to show it specifically to Filipino community audiences, and also to have places in schools or community centers where we can actually watch it and have opportunities to talk and to have those testimonials that I spoke about earlier, about what we did, how we survived, and our resilience during the pandemic. I think that's important to make sure that we all get a chance to be in a space and share and talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, for your viewing pleasure, Pandemic Bread will be showing here at the Kimmel Center at 2 p.m. Make sure you go see it. It was a pleasure meeting you and learning more about you and watching your incredible film.
And y'all should
the impact.
Y'all should subscribe to your podcast.
Subscribe to, this is my plug. Subscribe to Around the Way Curls or whatever.
That's right, I did. Y'all should too.
It was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Shanti. Oh, thanks to our ASL interpreter. Thank you.